Hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. My name is Trent Steele, retired Secret Service agent, currently in the private sector. Taking what I learned as a Secret Service agent, protecting presidents, former presidents, future presidents, people that wanted to be president, and we're translating that into how you can protect the people that you love at church, school, business, and in the private sector, right? We can live safe. There are ways to do it, and I'm hoping to try and translate some of that into your life. So let's talk a little bit about, I mentioned at one point four ways that if I was starting at a place where I'd gotten hired, what are the four things I would do? I'd be proactive. I'd push the perimeter out. I would train, and I would make sure that communication was king. Number two today is push the perimeter out. If you made me choose one thing that I would change with the average director of safety and security in the private sector, it is that he would begin to push the perimeter out. Ultimately, the more perimeters of security that an attacker is required to penetrate, the less desirable that target. And the further out an attacker is discovered, the less damage they can do, right? That's not rocket science. It is why we have had moats for castles for years, right? We have pushed the perimeter out historically, and unfortunately, these days, we're not doing that very well in the private sector. You take your average church on Sunday morning, they are doing a much better job these days of putting a bunch of guns in the worship center. But let's take, for example, if you happen to be at your house with your loved ones one day and you found out as maybe an undercover police officer or whatever that the cartel had discovered that you were undercover and they were coming to your house to kill you and your family, you would not sit in the living room with your family and defend it there, right? You would not have that gunfight inside with your family because you don't want that kind of damage that close to them. You would push the perimeter out. You would likely go outside, wait for them as they arrive, begin to try and pick some of them off as they came in, while also making sure your wife inside maybe had a weapon to defend if they got past you, right? Layers of security. This is not rocket science at all, but it is an important concept and it gets left out. We are too busy trying to make sure the worship center is secure and not busy enough trying to find the guy long before he gets in the worship center and taking that fight to him. If you take the Nashville Covenant School shooting, I've talked to some few people that have been involved in that. The actual detective that took the person out, um, you find that she arrived and parked approximately 75 yards away from the front door. She parks there. She sits in her car for 15, 20 minutes, I believe, and then it gets out with a couple of rifles and begins to make her way towards the front of the building. Can you imagine the different story we would have today if they had had someone outside being proactive and going to her car? We talked about being proactive, going to her car, knocking on that window, and having that gunfight right there, right? Tactically approaching the window, ma'am, is there anything I can help you with? And then dealing with her there. Imagine the difference. And at the very least, let's suppose she pops out 75 yards away with an AR and begins to walk towards the building, and we take that gunfight to her out there. What a different story we're talking about. We push the perimeter out to the parking lot. We have that gunfight 65 yards away, and we have children still alive today, to be honest with you. So, unfortunately, they didn't even have security there. So, that's an entirely different subject. Having said that, it would have been a different situation for sure. As the Faith Based Security Network tells us, 73% of church shootings, the person has begun to do the shooting outside, right? They're doing us the favor of saying, hey, I'm here outside. Eventually, they'll get smart enough that they'll come inside. Let's hope not. But the reality is if they're doing us that favor, we should take them up on it and say thank you and take that fight to them out there long before they're inside our worship center, our school, our business, etc. Um, so the question becomes how? How do we do that then? What are some ways that I can do that in the private sector? I don't have, I'm not like a Secret Service. I can bring in the local police, set up a perimeter, that kind of a thing. No, you can't. You probably can't do that. Although you could have a checkpoint out front for cars. I don't know what your situation is. That's a decision you could talk about. But ultimately, do you have a guy in a truck that's driving around and on your security team, has the ability to communicate back in, has the ability to take a threat out? Do you have a truck driving around the perimeter of your uh, place of business? Do you have posts outside facing out versus inside, waiting on their computer doing some reports? Are they actually facing outside? Are they standing outside and looking forward? Um, do you have a drone? Could you put a drone up regularly looking for that? I mean, we have technology now. We can put uh, AI on the video of a drone and see a brandished weapon. It can alert us back inside, and I don't even think it's that expensive. Um, and it can alert us that we've got someone with a brandished weapon headed towards our building, and we can take that fight outside, right? Can your cameras do that? Are your cameras being monitored? Are we watching outside with those cameras? And do they have the AI detection on it that allows you to see that? So those are a few ways. You can be creative about the ways that you are posting outside or pushing your perimeter out. There's a million different ways to do it, but it's more of a concept. It's a mindset, and it's like anything in security. If you do it, it will make a difference. If you just say you're going to do it and don't get out there and actually push that perimeter out, you're not going to have much success. But something I thought was very important. Again, if you made me pick one thing that I think is a difference maker and could be a difference maker in the world of security in the private sector, this is it, is pushing your perimeter out. There's a million different examples I could give you, but I think that's a good start. Would love to hear your feedback on this video. Thanks, guys.